back to Arma3 Mission Making in 15 minutes or less, and today we're going to talk about the file structure system in Arma3 and how to incorporate different files, scripts or additional functions into your game, either within that file structure or within the game itself, and how it kind of all melts together. When you first open a mission folder, you'll see that it's pretty empty. You've only got this mission file in here, but we can certainly drag and drop a bunch of different files and folders to increase the functionality of our mission. Now I've got a separate folder with a bunch of different files and folders in there that I use to support my gaming. It just makes it a bit easier to keep them in one place. And let's take this Hunter4 script now, cut and paste it into the mission folder. We can now use that Hunter4 script within the mission itself. But this would essentially be your blank Hunter4 script. You can see in here that this kind of scripting is way beyond my skills, but what I do know is I can drop some information into various places and it'll work in the way that I want it to. So if we go for Arma3, for example, and let's get a anti-armor team. Take these guys here, copy all these classes to clipboard. So we need a bunch of markers that say mark spawn and then up to 7, and then a bunch of markers that say attack pos up to 9. Get rid of this, go to the map. There's a bunch of mark spawns that do there. We're going to my markers, into system, into empty, drop that one down. Attack pos. Cool, so it's that one. Cool. So, what does that allow me to do? Well, I've dropped a script into my mission folder. So now when I go into game, I can call that script. If you look here, I've got a radio trigger down with that's repeatable, and then on activation it executes the script that's within that mission folder. What other kinds of things can you use? Well, I like to use Jeebus a lot. Jeebus gives me a excuse me, some increased functionality over, there's no mod for it, and an increased functionality over the Villain engine. So going to our mission stuff, I've got a templates folder, in my Jeebus folder, and essentially I need this file and this file, this file, this file. If I copy those, drop them into, let's go back to my mission folder and drop them in here, and essentially this description file means that we'll create a new class called config functions, and it'll include the functions within the Jeebus folder. All of this stuff in here. So now if I go in game, let's cache some dudes because that's super easy. Take this, in game, grab a group and a defense team, cache them. On this leader guy, drop it in. I don't need that. So essentially, until a playable character gets within 500 meters of this guy, then these files will be cached. And that's what that functionality, that Jeebus functionality has brought to the party. And one of the other ones that you'll have seen in there, within that mission template folder, is Ngema. I'm going to Ngema's traffic. I just copy this folder and this file. Put back into this folder here. So the init folder essentially loads, how does it work? So your engine loads, and then you call specific things within your init folder, then that will load first before you then get into game. So within the init folder, it's going to call this SQF, like the Hunter script, yeah? But if I go into Ngema, you can see it is significantly more complex. Here we have, within that, a bunch of different things, which again, you go into the tutorial, you look at, what are the things I need to change for it to do what I need it to do, and then you kind of do it. But all of that has been found and dragged into the mission file, yeah? And one of the conditions on that was essentially you have a marker, which in this one's called cars1, cars01, there it is. That's that functionality there. So this is kind of bringing stuff into the mission file, or into a mission folder file. and there's a whole bunch of different things that you can do on it. What else are you going to see in your mission folder? We can see here we've got a file that says images, and that essentially I can call these images within the mission making one. So if I go back to my say this Axios folder there, so if I go back to my demo Altis, drop Axios into my demo Altis one, go back into here, let's get a billboard, a blank billboard, and go to the bottom here, object specific texture, Axios.jpg, he says cautiously optimistic, and you can now see I've dropped it in there. But if I do it billboard, what are the ones we got? Patrolling arrowhead. I think that was the only one. .jpg. There's no JPG found, so it's not going to change that. Indeed, if I leave it in nothing, there's nothing in there. So you've got to have it within your mission folder. You've got to have that file in your mission folder for it to be able to look for it, to bring it into play within the game. What you might want to do is something significantly lower level, okay, than what we've just seen there. Maybe you just want a specific function or a specific command. So you don't want to put a whole script in, but you want to be able to do something. So for example, we've talked about unit capture. We've used that before. There's a tutorial on how to use unit capture. And here's the, all you need to do is put in that line of code. And that, you go on to the Arma3 wiki, and you can see in here you've got the commands and the functions. And if we go to the scripting functions, which is this huge list of functions in here, and all I did was Control and F unit capture, and it brings you into this one. It tells you what you need to put in there, what parameters you need to put in there. So you need to put in an object variable, time, and everything else. It tells you what to do in there. You drop it into the init or the on activation for a trigger, and it'll do that for you. What else in there? So scripting commands that we have used. If I do stop, so the scripting command that we can use, do stop, essentially allows you to what did it say? To stop without radio message. Leaves groups formation, prevent them moving around while still being able to turn and move to a new position in bit. Unit will still respond to orders, so essentially when it kicks off it will return to formation. Yeah, how would you use that? Well, if I took this, let's take infantry fire team A, I'll do fire team B. So if we leave fire team B, they've got nothing right in their things. We take these guys, go into their attributes, into their init, put in do stop this. Let's move these guys spread out. Yeah, so those guys are spread out, and let's put these guys just over here into a little bit of cover. And you face that way. Go prone. You guys take a knee, and you can go prone. Okay, so what we should see now is these guys will probably return to formation around the group leader, yeah? Whereas these guys will stay until something kicks off. So that's one way of introducing, not necessarily using a script within your mission files, but you're using, I don't know why I gestured with my hand, you guys can't see this. So you're not using a script within your mission files, or you're just using those same functions, same commands that you might use within a script, within a mission file, but actually in game itself. You can also see that here we go, we've got this guy here. I've just used a command to reduce his speed, or to limit his speed. There are ways of doing it in game. Go and see the right tool for the right job video for kind of more details on that. But essentially you might want to force walking or not allow sprinting, for example. Those are things you can do there. What else is there? The last one we're briefly going to touch on is third-party functions. It took me a long time to find this stuff. So, you know, it is a pain, but I will show you where this thing is because I think it's worth knowing. So for this guy here, we want to call a function from Ace Medical. Okay, so the Ace system is the mod that we've got on there. There's a bunch of functions within that. That's how the Ace Medical system works. But I want to call one of the functions within that. And in this one, I want to call a bullet to the right leg, yeah, and that's my little dude, my variable demo1. So demo1, damage of 1, right leg, bullet. I want to call that function. Where did I find that function? My goodness. So go back into your folders and your file structure. If you go to your Arma3, and I would recommend, you can see the file path up here. Arma3, follow your Steam Apps Common Arma3, and then make sure that hidden items is checked. And if you've got that checked, you'll see this folder appear, ! Workshop. Within that, here's all your add-ons, yeah, here's all your mods. If we go into Ace, and then within the Ace add-ons, you have all these PBO files, yeah, the Arma3 files. Download yourself an Arma PBO extractor. So if you Google PBO extractor, you'll find a bunch of ones. So the guy Elise, that's his thing, Elise PBO. Under Macaro Source, there's a bunch of different PBO extractors there, whichever you want to use. But get yourself one of those, and then you get this file. Now I happen to know that the medical command we saw was under medical, so we'll go into here, and you can see within this one we've got a bunch of different, again, complex functions. Painful to use, wouldn't want to, but at least you know where the files are, guys. So if you want to add damage to some dude, that's where it's come from. Okay, that's where all the magic is happening, and that's how you can kind of bring it in game. What does it look like in game? So we can see here immediately, remember our do stop this. Here's our do stop this. These guys doing that command, they're staying where they are. These guys are running back to formation. So that's kind of where one of those commands is coming into it. If we go and look at this guy's leg, you can already see the blood on his leg. If we jump into the medical menu, you can see he's been shot in the leg. He's having a bad day. If we go into bigger, you can see these vehicles randomly spawning. This is in Gima's traffic, right? That's that mission file within our that's that folder within our mission folder. If we look at these guys here, these guys are cached, and they'll remain cached until I put somebody within 500 meters. So I take this guy, I teleport my player. Any second now, and they pop in. That's Jeebus, right? That's that Jeebus functionality. And then we looked at the looked at that script, and in fact, I'm just going to leave my dude over here because I'm pretty sure I set them up as op4. So go over here, and we looked at the Hunter Force script, yeah, so our own script, our own SQF that we want to be able to call in game. It's calling our Hunter Force. If we call that, let's just call it twice. And jump back into Zeus, and you can see now we've randomly called in our op4. Okay, so what have we looked at today? Well, we spent today looking at briefly at your mission file and your mission folder and kind of how it all comes together. Where essentially you save a mission, you have the mission name and the map that it's associated with, and you basically start with a mission file, and that's about it. That you can then draw in other assets, so you can have your own custom scripts that you've watched a tutorial on. See the ones linked below, there's some really good ones that look really complex but do some awesome stuff. Another thing is we can bring in additional functionality, so outside of the mod sets, we can bring in things like Gima's traffic and Jeebus to give us additional functionality in game. We just need to make sure that we adhere to the requirements of those additional functions. And again, let's get onto Google and go and look at those specific requirements, or indeed watch the videos that cover Jeebus and Gima's traffic mod, and making sure you use descriptions and inits and everything else. If you want to bring in custom textures and custom images into the game, we can do that. Just make sure that you've got the file within the mission folder itself, and then you can see where we've used that for this billboard. And indeed, if you don't want to go too heavy, if you don't want to go into mission files and mission scripting, those same functions, those same commands that you can find on the various wikis can be brought to bear in game, just making sure that you're putting them into the right place at the right time. Guys, that is me mission making 15 minutes or less. Today we've looked at files and your mission folder and kind of how to bring things together. Any questions, please leave them in the description at the bottom, in the comments at the bottom, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks for your time again today, guys, and I'll speak to you soon.